Senator Marshall. Senator Hassan.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank you and the ranking member and Senator Marshall in his stead for this hearing. And thanks to all of you for coming today to have this hearing. I want to follow up on a line of questioning that Senator Blumenthal started concerning fee-free family seating. Obviously, this upcoming holiday season, millions of Americans are going to travel across the country and around the world on your airlines. Some airlines do, in fact, guarantee that children can sit next to their parent at no additional cost as long as their tickets are booked on the same reservation. And according to the Department of Transportation's tracker, both American Airlines and Frontier Airlines meet their standard for what that guarantee should mean. However, the Department of Transportation tracker tells us that Delta, United, and Spirit do not meet their standards. And if anybody wants to check that, it's right here. So I'm going to just start with you, Mr. Carter. Can you explain your family's seating policy, and will you guarantee that parents can sit with their children without having to pay extra?
Senator, thank you for the question. I think you are specifically referring to the DOT dashboard.
That's right.
And you're correct that we declined to provide the check. And we thought it was important, not because we don't do everything we can every day. Our people are amazing at seating families together, and we never charge to seat families together, so that's important.
So how come you won't make the guarantee then, according to the DOT standards that include some exceptions?
Yeah, Senator, because the guarantee was so unconditional in our view that we thought it was really an unfair thing for us to do, because consumers, if they look at that dashboard, will rely on that. What's more important is not whether or not we have an X on that dashboard, but what we do each and every day. And I assure you that at the airports, our res centers, each and every day, they are accommodating families to sit together.
Well, I am sure they are, but for those of us who travel a lot, and everybody up here does, we witness on a daily basis on airlines families having to ask people to switch seats so that they can sit with their kids, and passengers are usually quite accommodating. But American and Frontier have both guaranteed and meet the DOT standards. Your airline does not. Mr. Klein, how about yours?
Thank you for the question, Senator. So we do also on the dashboard you're referencing, we do not have the green check marks on there. I would echo what my colleague just said over here, which is we do everything in our power to make sure families can sit together. We do abide by the spirit of all of those check boxes, so to speak. And we felt that we would not necessarily be able to always 100% guarantee everything on there. We felt it'd be disingenuous to try to get green check marks on something that we're already accommodating, and we're afraid that we would be in violation by trying to say always.
Well, let me be clear that the comment period on the rule that DOT is putting into place in response to legislation from this body, from Congress, that rule, I hope, is going to be finalized, and then you guys are going to have to follow it. So you would like to be able to rely on. Trust me when I say that when you are argue or look at an interpretation of a rule with an airline agent or a flight attendant. Other airlines are figuring out how to do this, and for much of the history of flying in this country, airlines did this. So I think you're going to need to figure out how to comply with the rule. Mr. Nacella.
Thank you, Senator. First of all, I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, so this is very important to me, and my kids don't want to sit alone. I think United goes above and beyond what that rule says. And, first of all, I'll say we implemented new technology recently where if the seat is adjacent is not available, our computer continues to look at seats as they become available on the aircraft as you get closer to departure. So even if it's not available on the day you make the purchase for your ticket, we continue to look, and again, we do that without a fee. We too have an issue with the absolute guarantee that seemed to have a lot of exceptions to it that I think could lead a consumer to the wrong conclusion.
So here's the thing. I'm going to move on to a different topic, but when the consumer goes to the dashboard, it explains very carefully, right on that page, this is a printout of it, what the exceptions are. So on the one hand, you're all telling me how smart American consumers are, and they are, and on the other hand, you're saying they're not smart enough to understand this dashboard. I think you guys should really focus on complying with the rule. Now, let me move on to another issue, to Mr. Klein and Mr. Schroeder. As you know, airlines are required to clearly advertise the prices for tickets and to clearly list all mandatory ticket fees. These transparency requirements enable customers to understand what options are best for them and to make informed decisions. So according to this subcommittee's investigative report, your two airlines charge some fees to customers that are not immediately apparent. For example, according to the report, your airlines do not initially tell a customer the cost of the additional fees that they could face. Instead, you require that a customer first provide you with their personal information, such as their zip code, before revealing the total cost of their bag and seat fees. And I know, Mr. Klein, you say that you're not using the personal information to set the price, but it begs the question, why are you asking for the personal information first? So I'll start with Mr. Schroeder and then move on to Mr. Klein, but could you please explain your fee transparency policy, and will you commit to transparently listing all possible fees for customers up front so that they can make informed flying decisions?
Thank you, Senator. Today, we take transparency and customer experience very seriously. We actually do have the ability on the flight availability page, so when you do make a search, there is a link that allows you to go and see quite a few of the fees that exist on that.
All of the fees or quite a few of the fees?
All except for seat fees on it. And so you can get your bag fee right there. You can find out any of the other fees that exist as well.
Except for the seat, why not the seat fees?
It's something that just we would have to go and build. We haven't done yet, but frankly, it's.
Well, if your commitment is to transparency, I suggest you do it. Mr. Klein?
Yeah, so our booking path has been in place for quite some time now. And in fact, we used to collect a little bit less information during COVID-19 at the request of Department of Homeland Security for COVID tracking. We actually added some more information on that page. But I must say, however, we have, and I let the subcommittee know over the summer during our interview that we are always reviewing our booking paths. In fact, for 3 of our 4 travel options, everything is now straight and up front. And the only reason why we haven't reviewed that 4th path, which is what you're referencing right now, is because it's going to be a little technical, but right now we're in a freeze on some of our development right now until we get into the new year. And a part of this is all part of our transformation that we're doing at Spirit Airlines right now. We value guest experience. We value transparency. That is exactly what we want. And we are reviewing that, and we expect to be making some adjustments to that early next year.
Well, I appreciate that, and I also appreciate that I'm over time, but I'm going to just suggest that in a world in which consumers rightly wonder why large companies are collecting their personal information, there is reason for consumers to worry that their prices are being set according to their zip code or according to an algorithm that estimates, because of their personal information, how much they could pay. Now, you're shaking your head, Mr. Schroeder, and I'm sure, Mr. Klein, you're going to tell us that that's not the case, and I hope it's not. But that's why transparency is so important, and it is hard to listen to people talk about their commitment to transparency and then have them give you a bunch of different reasons why they can't be transparent. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Senator Hassan.